we will be talking about our fusion tools. Because if there is a fast way of achieve and maintain the state of coherency, it's our technologies. It's our little gadgets. It's our little helpers that we found to be the most efficient in achieving the state of coherency quickly and keep us that way. So we found a combination of three extremely complementary technologies. Our Solaris blanket, our soft laser, and our scanners or osmotic devices, which each one is a standalone technology. But when blended together, they create a system that is much bigger than some of its parts. And what it creates, the condition when 1 + 1 + 1 equals 111 and not 3. So what we will be talking about in this part is what actually these technologies do. So kind of the basics for each one of them, so you understand what exactly and why you need them, and why you need a combination of them rather than each one of them, or which one of them you would need the most if to select one. So this part of the presentation, it's called the Healing Fusion for your health and wellness rescue. And we will be again looking at the fusion from a point of view of self-care, because our emphasis is homeschool your healthcare. So how can you use these tools in your daily life? And what you actually can do with that? And you can do quite a bit. There are even very serious conditions which you can treat at home with the fusion tools very successfully, not being a health practitioner. Just one example. I don't know if you are probably familiar with that, and if you can see it, guys, this is actually an arm. There's actually a hand with a 3rd-degree burn. This is a hand of a woman who was a waitress, and she just dumped some, boiling stuff on her hand. It's the professional injury. So she had 2nd and 3rd-degree burns up to her elbow. So this actually looks like an elephant arm, with as you can see, all these bubbles and skin hanging over around. The prognosis was by the doctors about 8 months to a year in recovery, several skin grafts, and possible loss of the use of her hand because of scarring, deep scarring developed on, obviously, with a burn like this. She was treated by a layperson. That's why we are talking, homeschool your healthcare. A homeschooling mom, her friend, with the fusion tools. She used the blanket just, to calm the person down, to keep the stress down. Used mostly the laser in the beginning because the arm was in the covered, so through the bandages, scanner couldn't go through the bandages. So she used the osmotic around and on the other arm, and the laser through the bandages. So the end result I'll show you right here. So no scarring, no nothing, a little discoloration of the skin. So arm completely back to normal. So this is the end result, and it all has been done in 6 weeks. 6 weeks. Here we go, week by week. So week 1, right? Week 2, week 3, 4, 5, 6.
How many times a week?
She did it every day. Every day.
Actually, she didn't do it every day. It was only like 3 or 4 times a week.
I think in the beginning was every day, but what the point is, it wasn't like all day long, basically, because the woman didn't have the equipment in her possession, so she used it only when she would go to her friend's house.
And for how long each time?
I believe it was about 20 to 30 minutes each time.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Not extensively at all. It's not 24 hours. So that's, and of course in the end, complete use of her hand back. And that's what you can, guys, do, even not being a health practitioner, just having your fusion tools. And this obviously is not a simple case. So that's just one example. Well, you probably saw this guy, little guy. That's a case of low-level laser. Dr. David knows this case much better because it's his case. And this little boy fell off the bike, and his front teeth were virtually, well, like, kind of got into the jaw.
He broke the labia plate, and the big concern is his mom is actually a dentist, and the big concern is, oh my God, all his baby teeth are going to turn black. After the first day, he treated himself completely. The rest of the time, we only treated him once professionally, and after that, he used the soft laser at home for approximately about 20 minutes per day. You can see what happened, how much reduction in inflammation by the second day.
So the middle one is the second day.
Yeah, and the sixth day...
and basically nothing in the sixth day.
I said, I think your son is more handsome now than he was before the accident. And the interesting thing is he was much more wary on his bicycle after that. So that was a good thing. But all his baby teeth, none of them left, none of them turned black. His permanent teeth came in beautifully. So that was really a wonderful miracle. And again, he treated himself completely after the second day. So why not let your kid do it?
Well, we have actually the situation with the teeth in adult. One of our wonderful practitioners in Texas, she fell and her two front teeth start turning black. So she used the cosmetic and the laser. So still have her teeth and they turned back white. So adult teeth can be dealt with also. Okay, now another situation when you can really successfully use, this guy is a professional, not a boxer, but kickboxing. And you know how much money is involved in competitions like that. So that's what he got, like eye completely shut, right? So he couldn't compete obviously with the eye like that. And this is a tough guy. So on the right you see how it looked from the bottom. So 20 minutes with the dove. 20 minutes from this to this. So that's what you can do for people, for sportsmen in competition, and obviously not just with the eye, but with any kind of trauma or injury. But this was a particularly interesting situation because otherwise he would be probably out of any competition for a week. You know how long these things take. Judy, you wanted to?
I have a question. We were talking about the burns and that the laser works through gauze.
Yes.
I have a little boy who just broke 2 femur bones, and he has a cast on it. How thick of a
laser can go through the cast?
It can.
Yeah, it will go through the cast.
Just that if I was in a situation, what would be the boundaries?
There is no any. Probably the metal would prevent laser light going through, but not even. Some of the metal still would let it in. But casts, bandages, especially if they're light color. If the dark color absorbs laser light a little bit, but light color is fine. And you use laser through the cast. When you use scanner on the other arm, like on the symmetrical part, you will look for that.
Does it go through the blanket?
Yes.
Yeah?
Well, yeah, laser light will go because it's not EMFs. It's light. Light will. Coherent light will. But it's better to use inside the blanket, so it stays more inside. This is a situation also quite interesting. It's just we took a few cases of different. You got a child, you got the young man, You got a professional woman, and this is the old elderly lady. This is the 83-year-old lady who developed an explosive wound, which was sawed, and the prognosis wasn't that good. There's actually this description of the case right over here. So it was infection, and the prognosis was not good. Also, of course, treated just at home by a non-practitioner. This is just Q1000 situation. It was this family didn't have any scanners, but if they do, it probably would be faster than 4 months. And our famous horse with the wires wrapped around her leg and the bad infected wound, and of course that horse needed to be put down. That was the only possible way, because it's gangrene.
The gangrene was so bad that you could smell it about a block away.
Well, Dr. David's case again.
Actually, I just talked to the vets. So 3 vets worked. Even intravenous antibiotics couldn't help. The horse was to be put down that day. And luckily someone talked to Dr. Lytle, the guy who created the Q-series laser, and said, I'll give you a laser to help the horse. And gave the laser, and it literally was 8 sessions of 6 minutes altogether, 3 to 6 minutes. And that then became 3 weeks later. What was interesting about it,
you can't see it here, but it didn't have any hair yet.
Right, so it still was scarred, and the horse was fallow, meaning it wasn't running around too well. And when Dr. Lytle called and said, well, how's the horse? Well, the horse is alive, but, you know, and it's a dressage horse, so it's a $50,000 horse, and dressage horse has to be beautiful as well as have full movement. And Dr. Lytle very simply said, well, why don't you continue to use the laser? And, oh, I could do that, right? And you'll see, I believe, the next picture.
No, we don't have the next one, but you can show it later.
You can show it later. The next picture is all the hair regrew over the next 3 months. That horse is winning again in dressage, and now I believe has produced her 5th foal. So, and this is about 7 years ago. So quite amazing. And all for about a $1,300 device. So it was quite inconceivable, but incredible what occurred.
So again, home environment, non-practitioners. So you can do pretty amazing things, guys, just with your equipment, even in a home environment. So as we already mentioned, these are 3 components of the fusion. 3 technologies that we suggest for you as the best combination of cutting-edge technologies that can probably do the best and the most for you for your investment. It's the best ROI, return on investment, so far, which we found. If we will find something else, we will tell you. But this is probably the best you can get. Now let's go through each one of them. The oldest, of course, you already know that. The oldest 3 technologies increase the coherency level of the system, right? They improve communication in the system. They just do it in a different ways. They approach it from a different angle. In their own unique way, each one of them contributes to the coherency. But that effect gets multiplied when you combine all of them. So communication is the key, we know that, right? So 3 technologies presented here. Guess which one is which, by the way. Well, consider, we will see actually later on, each technology has its character. So these characters can be related to this pretty much. And I'll ask you a question in the end, which you think is which, okay? So we have a dog, a cat, and a mouse. Yeah. Soft laser. Laser is actually the acronym and stands for light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. Radiation is not a scary word. Radiation just means something is emitting waves, emitting, in this particular situation, light. Sun is a source of radiation, right? But it is a positive one. So radiation is not a scary word, which is to have this connotation, but it's not really. So light amplification, meaning getting more, by stimulated emission of radiation. By nature, laser is a source of coherent light. Not just any light. Light which is structured. Light which is harmonized. Light is a stream of photons. It's the small elementary particles that don't have any mass. They are just small particles of light. They're called photons. So that's what laser does. Laser emits ordered stream or organized stream of photons. Now when these photons hit the body, they create the release of electrons or small negatively charged particles which our body desperately needs, because electrons is that what makes our energy flow in the body. Laser does not emit electrons as such, but in a way, indirectly, it does create the stream of electrons or negative charged particles in the body just by photons hitting the bodily structures. Now, the stream of negatively charged particles, electrons, will make our body more alkaline first. And what else it will do? It will help the membrane, the cell membrane, function better. Because one of the major functions of our cell membrane is the pump. It's the constant exchange of charges. Our membrane needs to be polarized in order to keep its function. It has to have negative charge on one side and the positive charge on the other one. When our membrane loses its potential, it loses its pump function. It loses the ability to take the nutrients and oxygen in and throw the garbage out. So our membrane needs to keep the electrical potential at all times. And negative charges delivered to the cell membrane will help our cell membrane to be more healthier, to be better polarized, and to function better. So in general, we say that laser can help our membranes be more healthy. And this way, our cells will become more healthy. They will take oxygen better, they will take nutrients better, they will release the toxins out. So laser will help on a cellular level our tissues be healthier. Not only that, but the stream of electrons will create more energy in your body, more bioenergy, because that's what our channels and meridians work on. Channels and meridians transmit electrons, negative charges along. So the more negative charges we have, the better our energy system functions. Our bioactive points, or known as acupuncture points, are actually electron capacitors. They collect electrons on the skin surface, and then they transmit electrons along channels and meridians. So shining, yeah, we have ducks here again. So shining the laser light on the skin surface will create more electrons in our bioactive points, in our acupuncture points, and better conditions for our channels and meridians to function. So this is one of the basic soft laser functions. Now, when we say soft laser, it means that not every laser light is soft. Some lasers can be very stimulating, and some lasers can be even surgical lasers, they can cut through tissues. It all depends on the power of a laser. When we're saying soft laser, means very low power. Low level laser is the same as a soft laser or cold laser. It's non-heating light and quantitatively under 1 watt of power. Under 1 watt of power. Now, out of all the lasers on the market, I personally, when I didn't know Dr. David yet, I kind of knew, working with a scanner most of my holistic medical life, I thought that laser makes a good combination with a scanner. Theoretically speaking, it should make really good combination, but I practically could not find a laser that would match and could be combined with a scanner. The reason is all the lasers I worked with were too stimulating, too powerful, overstimulating, overpowering the system. It was too much for a system to have a scanner and a laser at the same time. Q1000 is the first laser I ever worked with, which is so soft, so weak in a way, that it created so much more for the system than more stimulating ones. Q1000 has seven different wavelengths, and that is the big aha for the laser. So most of the lasers are monochromatic, like it's just one color. One color cannot do it all, which is why one wavelength. The body, in order to create better condition for the tissues to function, need different colors. Some of our tissues need reds, others need green, others need blue. But when you combine the colors, they kind of cancel each other out. So in Q1000, the combination of colors is as such that they don't cancel each other out, they enhance each other. And more than that, combination of wavelength in Q1000 creates a very unique effect. It's called a soliton wave. Soliton wave, it's similar to a tidal wave. When a few waves interfere, get together, instead of canceling each other out and minimizing amplitude, they enhance each other and create a higher amplitude. That's how tidal wave is created. When this wave or soliton wave is created, it can carry on for a very long distance, basically never getting down. That's the way as dolphins communicate to each other on the sound waves, sound tidal waves, the soliton waves. In Q1000, combination of wavelength creates a soliton wave that can carry through the body the structures. And because of that, you don't really need much power in order to create a good healing effect. Imagine if interference of wavelengths created this tidal wave that can go through the tissues, you really don't care about putting too much into the body. The power can be very low, and yet the effect can be great. And that's what the Q1000's little secret is. You have very low powered laser, which is not overwhelming for the body at all. And at the same time, effect can be felt all the way through the body. Some of our very sensitive clients really feel the laser going through the entire body. Am I right, Jane? You can shine the Q1000 on the palm and feel it in the heel on the other foot. If you have self-induced transparency and if your body is coherent, then you really go, your fiber optics will transmit this coherent light all the way through your body. That's the Q1000 was the first laser that I found was really good combination with the scanner, because they didn't overpower the system and they could be used together. So they pretty much, Q1000 has 20 diodes, 12 of them are laser diodes and 8 of them are LEDs. LEDs means also source of light, just not coherent light. This is just a graphic to illustrate the coherency of light. This is a regular light which is non-organized, non-ordered. This is a light which is filtered. It has the one color. but it's non-ordered, also non-organized and not non-synchronized, incoherent. And this is how the coherent light looks. In this case, it's monochromatic, but in Q1000 it's polychromatic. So just little, So you all obviously know that system. You saw it already. Q1000, Q-series lasers have a main unit, which is a Q1000. It also has a simpler version, a home unit, which with only 12 diodes and only 3 modes versus 7 in Q1000. And you have 2 stimulating lasers, as we use them as laser enhancers. In a way, they are standalone lasers, but they don't have a power source. So in order to have a power source, they need to be connected to Q1000. And they can be used as a really stimulating lasers, because sometimes you do need a stimulating laser. Q1000 is called the resonating laser because it's so low powered. So it creates resonance and resonate with the body's tissue versus stimulating them. But sometimes when you need to stimulate, you can use 808 or 660 enhancers. And of course, their name 660 and 808 comes from a wavelength, whichever you use. Now, scanner. That's the second technology that we found to be extremely beneficial for home care. Also, acronym stands for self-controlled energoneuroadaptive regulator. And by the essence, scanner is a universal regulator of bodily functions. That's what it was created for. That's what was invented in mid-80s inside of Russian space research program as a device to give to cosmonauts while they are in space to take care of their health problems without diagnosis, without hospitals, drugs, or surgeries. Some device that kind of a Star Trek machine that can pretty much push the body to heal itself, reorganize the body's energy in order to show the body the way to heal. Scanner by nature is electrical stimulator, somewhat very sophisticated TENS machine, and was made an electrical stimulator because our body works on electricity. Our nervous tissue creates electrical impulses and transmits electrical impulses. So scanner was made as analog of a living system that emits electrical impulses very similar to what our nerves produce. So it's neuro-like electrical impulses. In a way, we call scanner ideal electrotherapy because scanner has 2 major particularities. One of the particularities is the shape of the impulse. On your right, over here, you see the natural impulse that our nerves produce. That's the shape of the impulse. And on the top, that's the shape of the scanner impulse. So scanner impulse is not made as anything like the TENS unit impulses, which are typically kind of rectangular. Scanner impulse is a neuro-like impulse. Now, it wasn't very easy to create neuro-like impulse, and there are reasons for it. First, we don't know much about natural neuro impulse. We only can measure it or see it if we connect wires to our nerves, right? And somehow detect, put it on a screen and see what kind of impulse we have. But wires change the impulse. Just the technology itself, by putting the impulse through the wire, will change the impulse. So what we see on the screen, it's not exactly what is in the nerve. That's number one. Number two, when you even create impulse according to what you see on the screen and put it back into the body, impulse has to go through the skin, through the muscles, through the tendons, and by the time when it gets to the nerve, it gets distorted by the tissues and the electrical resistance and doesn't resemble nervous impulse anymore. So that was little flaws. Still, machine worked really well, even with that imperfect impulse. Until about 5 years ago, Dr. Karasev, who is original designer of all scanner devices, found a way to distort the scanner impulse in a way that by the time it gets to the nervous fiber, it becomes neural-like. That involved a lot of mathematical analysis. And they did a lot of work with mathematicians and their strange machines. So they did create a few mathematical models of the impulses. So the impulse, when it gets out of the machine, doesn't resemble neural impulse. But when it gets to the nerve, it becomes a neural impulse. So it's like a lot of interesting things involved. And in the mid-80s, it wasn't possible. We didn't have that. They didn't have the technology in order to do that. About 5 years ago, they managed to do it. And the first machine, so by the time the first device that incorporated that pure, or Dr. Karasov called the true scanner impulse, was that little dove that you guys have. So even though it looks really, really simple, but because the impulse in it is so kind of pure, it has a stronger effect on the body than scanners of the first generation, which were also good machines, but they took a longer time for the effect to show up. That can create similar effects in much shorter time and much more powerful effects, just because of the particularities of the impulse. So that's, if you're still wondering why this machine is different from the rest. We consider that scanner of the second generation because it's a different signal. And it really is a good unit, which is simple to use and very powerful when you start using it in home care. Now that's the first particularity. Second particularity of a scanner is very important, and this is basically the first device that incorporated that particular feature. And this feature is a feedback. Scanner is the first device incorporating the feedback loop automatically. It's not a biofeedback when your mind is involved, when your conscience is involved in regulating your bodily functions. This is automatic feedback, meaning that the machine will screen the skin changes and respond to any kind of change in electrical resistance in the skin that the body creates. We'll change the signal according to that. And as long as the body is changing electrical resistance of the scanner will be responding and changing its signal accordingly. Meaning that now you don't have any tolerance to the impulse. You don't develop any tolerance to the impulse, because impulses are all the time different. No one scanner impulse is similar to the previous one, as long as the body is changing the skin resistance. So as long as the body has dynamics in this place, scanner will be producing different impulses. But as soon as the body stops responding, scanner will turn into tense unit and will start producing same impulse all the time, which the body develops tolerance to real fast. So basically it can't create any harm, but you will be wasting your time standing on this spot. That moment when the body stops responding and scanner impulses turn into similar tense unit impulses, machine will let you know. And that calls the dose. The machine will give you the certain signal and said, okay guys, time to move somewhere else. Right now the body is tired, it's enough here, let's go. So we call it the dosing, not the one of the doses, I'll let you know, but machine lets you know when enough is enough. Feedback changes the whole dynamics between the machine and the body. And the reason being, now instead of body just responding to stimulation, the body becomes a regulator. Now the body dictates how much it's needed. The body will tell the machine what to do versus machine telling the body what to do. So it turns upside down the entire dynamics between the practitioner, machine, and the client. Now the body becomes the decision maker. Now the body will tell, okay, that's enough here and I want help there. Now you don't need a diagnosis really, because what is happening is that you will go with your machine to the place where you feel is right. And you will stay on that place as long as you feel is right, or until the machine will let you know. But then you will check the body, and body will tell, well, that's enough here, but I still need help there. So your procedure will be designed not according to what you think is right, but according to what the body is telling you. Is that different? That's pretty different dynamics. So decision making now, it's up to a client. Eliminates diagnosis, which is 90% of what we learn in medical school, as to how to diagnose. And as long as we give the power over our own health to someone else, and someone else is making decision about your health, there is always a chance to run into mistake. When you're giving power to the intelligence of the body, there is no mistake. The body doesn't make mistakes. It knows what it needs. If you're just attentive enough, the body will tell you what to do. It will tell you where to go. Because the language of our body is what? Complaints, right? Our pains and aches. It's not a bad thing. It's just the way our body is letting us know that it needs help and where. Our pain is good. Love your disease. It makes you healthy. Right? So our pains are a good thing. Without our pains, we would do damage to our system, major damage. Our pain prevents us from doing more damage. And it just let us know, okay, that's where we need to go. And you just follow. As long as you follow the body's dynamics, the body will be so much more efficient in healing. Instead of struggling with the body, just helping it out. So feedback makes the difference. And it's not just a difference in developing no more tolerance to the impulse. It just changes the dynamics between the therapist, the device, and the client. So that's the nature of scanner. Now, I don't want to go too much into it. If you guys want, you will read about that. But actually what happening in the body when scanner is influencing the body, scanner was created to be a device of a direct contact. It needs to be on the skin surface. Skin surface is a natural border between outside and inside world. So it's part of a system of adaptation. And the scanner is improving adaptive reactions. We will be talking it in the next part of our presentation. So when you put the machine directly on the skin and start stimulating the skin with electrical impulses, what you do, you are stimulating nervous fibers in the skin and underneath. Now, our nervous fibers are really interesting structures. There are three types of it, A, B, and C. And in their synapses, or the places where two nervous fibers come in contact with each other, there is a little space there called synapse. Information from one nervous fibers to another nervous fibers is transmitted inside the synapse by the means of chemical molecules. There is no electricity running inside the synapse. It's just under the influence of electrical impulses, the nervous fibers will release certain molecules inside the synapse. We will reach the other side of the synapse, another membrane, and create another nervous impulse. But inside that little space, inside the synapse, transmission of information is happening by means of the bioactive substances called mediators. And the most common mediators, or mostly well-known mediators, are adrenaline and acetylcholine. Adrenaline is a classical mediator for sympathetic nervous system, acetylcholine for parasympathetic nervous system. Adrenaline and acetylcholine. Acetylcholine. Yeah, that's okay. No, not alkaline. Acetylcholine. Yeah. Sorry? Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. I'm probably mispronouncing it. Okay, sorry, guys. So, these are called classical mediators. But besides the classical mediators, there are also three other group of mediators, which besides transmission of information from one membrane to another, do other functions in the body. And their other function is very interesting. They regulate physiological functions. They work as low molecular hormones. This group of mediators is called regulatory peptides or neuropeptides, and it's a lot of research lately has been done on this group. There are tons of those peptides now discovered and described, more than 500 I think at the moment. Each one of those peptides controls a certain physiological function, and they're very distinctly assigned to certain physiological functions. Peptides have certain particular qualities, and they basically control our healing powers, our healing reactions. So in order to push our healing reactions, all you need to do is to release in the bloodstream the large amount of those peptides, and they work as internal pharmacy. The body will take those little substances that it needs in order to continue healing. And sometimes when our healing is stuck, it means that we don't have enough of one or another peptide. Releasing of large amounts of peptides in the bloodstream, it's not a new concept. TENS machine can do it a little bit, but only a little bit, because TENS machine only stimulates A and B type fibers, and most of the peptides are released by synapses of C type fibers. C type are difficult to stimulate. They're very thin, they have very high threshold of excitement, and in order to get to C type and excite C type fibers, you need really strong impulse. TENS machine cannot produce that impulse because of the shape. It has that rectangular shape. So if you apply that shape of the high amplitude to the fiber, you can actually kill the fiber, because depolarization of the membrane will be so long, it will never recover. Scanner impulse, being neural-like, can stimulate C-type fibers without damaging it. So scanner is basically the first machine on the market that can really get to C fibers. And by being able to do that, it helps the body to release a large amount of regulatory peptides in the bloodstream, therefore pushing forward healing reactions. So this is the basic biochemical mechanism of scanner action. Regulatory peptides serve as a package of programs for our healing reactions. And if we don't have enough of regulatory peptides, we have slow healing. Now, there is another interesting thing that we have to remember. Any chronic, especially chronic process in our body forms the cyst. Energetically speaking, cyst. We call them energy cyst. Because the body, in order to continue functioning when it has a disease which it cannot deal with, in order to save energy, it would rather form a cyst, barriers around the problem, than deal with the problem. It's easier for the body to isolate the problem, less energy required, than to deal with that. That's the easy way out for the body, so it can continue function. It forms the barriers, energetic barriers, around the problem, around the pathology. Nothing goes in, nothing goes out. The body doesn't know what's happening inside, but it also is not bothered by what's going inside. When our body cannot deal with the problem, it forms energy cyst. And as we grow older, as we go through our diseases and disorders, we accumulate these energy cysts in our system, unfortunately. Every unresolved issue will form the energy cyst. And we may not even know it's there. Any blocked process that we ever experienced will form an energy cyst. If you had a pneumonia as a little child and it was treated with antibiotics, guess what happens? Antibiotics block the main inflammation, but the body never finished the cycle. Remember, disease needs to start and it has to go all the way through. Disease has to live its life through. If it doesn't live its life through, it was cut in the middle. What antibiotics do, they cut the cycle in the middle. So disease never finishes. And because disease never finishes, now it's still in the body. So now what the body does? The body forms the energy cyst around. So this cyst will still sit in the body, waiting for its time. When you're weak, when something happens, here it is, flares up. Every process that didn't live its life through will become an energy cyst. We don't know it's there, guys. Many of us don't even know it's there. If you ever treated acute inflammation with antibiotics, it's most likely there. So, not just inflammations, not just infections, but guess what? Our emotional issues. Do they form energy cysts ever? Traumatic experiences from childhood, do they ever form energy cysts? The body blocks memories, especially traumatic memories of death, rape, or anything like that. Well, most of us who lived through such bad thing, they don't even remember, right? Guess why we don't remember? Because the body isolates it. Because it's too difficult to live with that, so body isolates it, so you don't remember. But does it mean it's gone from the system? Not at all. It's sitting in your subconscious, influencing your personality, your daily life, everything. And you don't even know it's there. Every traumatic process that didn't live its life through, physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, doesn't matter, forms an energy cyst. Well, if we want to heal, what we need to do? We need to break the cyst, right? Is it going to be pretty? Especially when it's a bad one, and you know how in psychology, in psychiatry, if you start breaking those cysts with all those painful memories coming up, what is happening? And imagine the same process is happening in the physical body. It's the same thing. You break the walls, garbage gets out. But in order to heal, you have to deal with that. And why do we want to do that? Because those cysts, as we live, imagine our self-induced transparency, right? Our body has to be transparent all the way through. And imagine those black cysts sitting here and there. They don't let light get through. We're not transparent anymore. Because light now has to go all the way around and create detours. And by creating detours, it slows the processes down. Now, the cysts also require a lot of energy to keep them as cysts. So our energy resources now will be wasted on keeping the cysts under control versus doing good stuff and versus dealing with the new problems. So now the body doesn't have enough energy to deal with a new problem, and the new problem becomes a cyst. So it's catch-22 in a way. The more cysts we have, the slower is our healing, the less energy we have. The less energy we have, the more cysts we have. So there is no other way. If we decide to step on a healing path, we need to deal with those cysts. Well, it's not that easy. Yeah.
I have a question about the regulatory peptides. When the machine is releasing these regulatory peptides, does your body make more to replace these peptides?
Yep. The body creates much more. It's easy for the body to create. It's the resources. Oh no. It's resources are there all the time, and especially the body recycles it. Peptides fall apart real fast. They don't live long in the body. And their parts become new peptides, and the new peptides, it's like chains and cascades, and the body recycles it and utilizes to create the new ones. So it's the constant exchange of the body. So there is no depletion there. No.
Dr. Irene.
Yes.
Immunization, what happens? Creating cysts and
Yeah. We're creating bad stuff. Forget even about mercury toxicity that comes with immunizations, but we do create cysts everywhere, and in the central nervous system the most. So, yeah.
That could be contributing to the rise in cancer.
Oh yeah. Well, imagine, guys, cyst. It doesn't matter actually where the cyst is. What matters is that it's there, and because of it's there, now the body slows down. Communication in the body is all blocked. It's like the computer that needs defragging or registry that needs cleaning. Dealing with the energy cyst is a really tough thing, because the body, that walls are really tough. Even if you want to break them, it's not always possible to do. And not many technologies are capable of breaking the wall. Scanner is. Scanner was created in order to do something with the energy system, slowly breaking the wall, slowly breaking it into pieces, and letting the content of the cyst to go out. It may create, if the cyst was big, it may create a healing crisis for a little while. When the cyst breaks, you can go through quite unpleasant symptoms for a little while. But then the body will utilize the parts, but then you won't have it anymore. Scanner is one of very few technologies that are capable of breaking the energy cyst. Laser is not strong enough. See, laser can give you energy, but laser is not powerful enough to break the cyst. Scanner is.
That's easier to see with an injury. You know how you have an old injury, and the person never heals as well as they were pre-injury? Okay, that's the beautiful thing with the scanner, and now the new cosmetic, is that it helps the body break the cyst so it can be as strong as it was pre-injury. So that's another way to look at it on a physical kind of level.
Yeah, we will. Yep. I'll get into comparison in a minute. But right now, just get that image of that big black cyst, right? Surrounded by the wall, which is difficult to break. Now, this is a time bomb. It can explode any time in your system. Energy system, very stable structure. It's a very rigid structure. When the rest of the body is very dynamic. Rest of the body is changing all the time. Cyst is sitting there as is. Nothing is happening inside, or we don't know what's happening inside, basically. Something is, but we don't know what it is. Now, what we will have happening here, in order to get rid of the cyst, the scanner can break the wall. But in order to deal with what's coming out of the cyst, the body needs energy. And what better than laser can give the body not just energy, but the coherent order. Because what's coming out of the cyst is incoherent stuff. Now we need to make the system coherent again, while now it's influenced with the incoherent vibrations of the cyst content. Laser adding electrons to the system, extra energy to the system, and also ordered coherent light naturally help the body to utilize the content of the system and makes it stronger so the body can deal with that. So see how they work in combination? Laser can add energy to the system, but unless you break the wall, the cyst will still be there. Scanner can break the cyst, but if the system is not strong enough, it can be poisoned by the content. You need to strengthen the system and break the walls of cysts. Then you get a winning combination. So theoretically speaking, that's how they should work. And that's how they do work now when we have a Q1000 and the true scanner like the Dove. Logically. Now we have another technology which scanner evolved into, and that's a cosmetic technology. It's what we call the scanner plus, meaning it's scanner but plus something else. So, Cosmotic is the technology that was invented to stimulate regeneration in the human body. It's also electrical stimulation with a feedback, just as scanner is. But if scanner uses only one channel of feedback, Cosmotic uses 46. Meaning that there's so much more information the machine is receiving from the body at each moment in time. Cosmotic fine-tunes itself to the body. It's not as challenging as scanner, it's a softer one. But in this softness, it can show the body how to heal. It literally amplifies the body's healing vibrations. So scanner is a challenging impulse. It breaks the cyst, forces the body to respond. There is no other way for the body. The cyst is broken, the body has to deal with that. It can be challenging, absolutely. Cosmotic works differently. The body is still, even the cyst is there, the body still has certain healing responses to it. It still tries to do something about it. It's just not strong enough. Cosmotic can pick up those vibrations, resonate with it, and increase it. So the body now can deal with that. So Cosmotic will not be challenging, but it will make the body stronger so the body can deal with the problem now. For acute problems, Cosmotic is great. Works faster than the scanner. With chronic problems, scanner is faster, but Cosmotic is more profound. For Cosmotic, because with a chronic problem, Cosmotic now will be helping the body deal with that versus just breaking the wall. That takes time. And when you start healing from chronic condition with a Cosmotic, it may take a longer time than you do it with a scanner. But results will be more profound. So in reality, you need both. You need the scanner to challenge the body when it's needed, and you need to help the body to increase its healing vibrations when it's needed. So when Cosmotic technology was first invented, and we called it second generation of scanners, that the little machines, 715 for example, or CDAV, they represent the scanners of second generation of Cosmotic technology. When they first came out, and that was about 4 years ago, I think, started about 5 years ago, but really we got our good first machines about 3 years ago. We first looked at them and said, okay, now it replaces scanner. And we found it didn't. It didn't replace the scanner. It added the profoundness, and it now can show the body how to regenerate. And now it can wake up the body's regenerative program and increase the amount of stem cells in the body. And now it can clean those programs so the body can heal with no scarring, which is a great feature. Because see, why the body forms scars? Because it needs to heal. But in order to heal, restoring the structure is much more difficult than just to form a scar. Scar is a connective tissue. So no matter, the body needs to heal the wound. So it just forms, it again, body works on the principle of economy of energy. It takes less energy to form a scar than to rebuild the muscles and skin, right? And tendons. So the body will just, because it doesn't have much energy anyway, it just forms a scar. So imagine that our body has enough energy and it has the memory of how to rebuild the new tissue. Then we get the winning combination. Now, with the laser being the source of energy for the body, and the Cosmotic training the body on regeneration and reminding that it was the program there in the beginning, how to regenerate the tissue, the body doesn't have to build the scars anymore. It can really rebuild the tissue as it used to be. And we see it happening. We see hearts healing after heart attacks with no scars. Stomach ulcers restoring lining with no scars. It doesn't happen in the Cosmotic still, it's a great technology, but it's still not perfect. We cannot really regenerate limbs. But what we saw happening is regrowing a tooth, chipped tooth in front. half of the tooth gone. Put the little buttons, well, have to walk around for a little while, what Dr. Karasi says about 2 weeks. Well, the tooth is growing enamel back. So it is possible. It can restore a cavity. It can restore the bone. So it can grow back. Now we're working on more regenerative effects, and new technologies will be, and of course cosmetic is not the end of the road. It's just the next step. It's a second of the scanner of the second generation. But it is a way for the body to restore its regenerative powers. So there is where the scanner technology is going now. Okay, this we don't need really. Now the third technology, our Solaris blanket. And Solaris blanket is a really funny one. Here we have our Solaris blanket. Solaris blanket is the simplest feedback device possible. It's a mirror. It's just a sheet of metallized fabric inside the device, kind of similar to what cosmonauts used in their costumes while in space, protective from EMFs from outside, but also reflecting the body's natural radiation back to the body, working as a natural energetic mirror for the body. One of the metals in the alloy of metals that is in the inside layer is called palladium, and palladium is a natural electron donor. So here we have another source of negative charges to the body. So the blanket is a little electron donor plus energy mirror. It will work better as an electron donor if you once in a while throw it outside, let it charge in the sun, and then wrap yourself in that. And it will work better. But even if you don't do it, it will still work great just as an energy mirror. So what the blanket does, it reflects back the energetic portrait. So the body will see, here we see Dr. David in a blanket, and a little helmet on his head, which made out of blanket material also. So yeah, what you also see that he has a laser in his hand, right? And what is great here, when you cover yourself with a blanket and you put the laser inside, the laser light stays inside and will be distributed over the body much better because the blanket will keep it inside. Well, some of course will be radiated in the space, but more of the laser light will stay inside. Now, David doesn't really use blanket in the correct way, because the more you cocoon yourself in the blanket, the better. It has to really, the less skin is sticking out, the better. Put this way, right? So if you are wrapped as a mummy, that's the best way. He has his feet out, his hands out, and his head out. So that's not right. So it actually needs to be a mummy. And even if your feet really wrapped into that. We still didn't get to the point which we, over the last 2 years, we were trying to get the sleeping bags, like a sleeping bags. But the problem is the zipper. Because it interrupts the energy flow, so the blanket cannot be sewed. Like, you can't really put the punctures through the material, because the whole point is that the inside material needs to be distribute electrons along. We are working on it actually, because in our new facility where we just moved, that's what we are doing. So we will have sleeping bags really shortly. Mm-hmm.
Could you put a blanket on the bed and then put one over the top?
That's what we always do. We call it a sandwich. We call it a sandwich. Yeah, we put one blanket on the bottom on our bed, and we have another one on top of our normal blanket.
And is it okay to sleep all night?
Yeah, absolutely. It's all it is. It's energy accumulator. In the beginning, your body will go through a little adjustment, will be a little uncomfortable.
Maybe best to start off with just a few hours or something.
You know what? When you sleep under that, the body will throw it out. Like you will wake up with no blanket on it. You will just, subconsciously you will throw it out if you don't want it. Your body, if you
Put it on top of another blanket then. It's okay to do that.
Oh yeah, that's easy. The blanket is probably the easiest feedback device ever. Doesn't need any charging. It's a mirror. Whatever, mirror is the simplest feedback device. Very soft, and it's great for any kind of condition. So we use it with the scanner, with the lasers and stuff. So here is the pictures. It's a version of Kirlian photography. They take your pictures with their fingers. So this is your aura. Actually, pretty bad case of a client with a colon cancer. And you see there's little arrows showing holes in the aura, basically. And on the right, it's after about 30 minutes in the blanket, you see how stronger aura became and how the holes in the aura are closing. So that's pretty dramatic, even though it seems like a very simple device, but it's pretty dramatic. We have also other pictures, and we just, for the lack of time, we are not showing it, but we do have wonderful PIP images of aura taking with the clients. So, Judy, you know, we have Gail. Remember the pneumonia in the Bahamas? We had a guy who did PIP, and we have about 5 clients, PIP before and after. Dove, blanket, fusion. We have great pictures of Gail with the pneumonia.
You see that?
Yeah, I do have them on my computer. I can show you that. But that's pretty dramatic, actually, how energy field changes with the use of one or another tool or several of them.
Dr. Irene, I've
Yes.
heard of more than one person having nightmares.
With a blanket?
Yes.
Oh, yes, they will. Well, yeah, guys. Okay, ideas.
So that they know.
Why do people have nightmares in the blanket? Energy systems are breaking up. Of course, this is like your memories are coming back, which is good. It's temporarily, as the body will process it, and you will, of course, you will.
A little interesting. The more they don't know their body can, and a lot of itises, they don't know who they are. In fact, their body has rheumatoid arthritis, so they could have some. Take the blanket slow, because if their immune system can't recognize who they are, you know, you put the blanket around them, then they can't. And the same thing with nervous. An interesting story with my dad with diabetic neuropathy. After 5 minutes, he goes, "It feels like it's bringing me back." You know? Well, yeah, Dad, isn't that a good thing? You know, I said, Dad, you got a choice. You can gut it out and just do it for 2 hours and get over it, or 5 minutes and then 6 minutes a day instead. And he chose to do that, and that's fine. But he was uncomfortable being reflecting himself. So you'll find people with nightmares, and others are people who don't know themselves real well. They don't recognize themselves.
Have a lot of itises.
Yeah, tend to. Yeah.
Well,
Whatever, it's
wouldn't that
just-
be also a place where your energy would be coming from unresolved issues?
Yeah, of course.
Issues.
And at least you become aware.
So it breaks up, or the encapsulation of that memory into the body. So
It's a good thing, and it's temporary thing. It's not, they're not going to be stuck with it, but they have to process it. It will be coming back until they process the information.
thank you.
So that's any.
People who complain that it's too hot.
Actually, normally it shouldn't be. So again, it's temporarily, as the body is responding to something. Unpleasant sensation, while the body gets the image of itself, can be a very different nature. They can complain they're hot. Some of people will complain their hands are cold and their feet and hands are really cold. Some will say it's the body is tingling. That's a very good sign. And one of the best, Chris McCormick, I think, was saying the humming. Someone in a really bad case of Crohn's disease was humming in the blanket, like the body was, the sense of humming, and she had tremendous results after that. So feeling of tingling, vibrations, humming is really good. Hot, cold, they will, after a while, the body get over it. Most likely, the body wants to sweat, like the 2 or 3 sessions, the clients will be really sweaty. It will pass after about 5 sessions, but the body needs to get rid of toxins through sweat. So if a client is hot, most likely they need to sweat and get the stuff out that way. We typically keep sheets, separate sheets for every client if we use the same blanket in a clinic, but individual sheet for every client. And we don't wash that sheet because even sweat is actually good. We just dry it out, but it's also like homeopathy for the next procedure. So you use your own remedy to remind the body what is out there. So just about once every 3 or 4 procedures we would wash it. So now just to give you a summary again, scanner, laser, blanket. Scanner increases awareness of the system of what is going on. It can show the body where the cyst is. It can point the body's attention to the cyst and help the body to break it. But the big deal is to show the body that that's the cyst there. Let's pay attention to it. Because when the body creates the cyst, it creates it not to bug the rest of the body. Meaning the body will be ignoring that place. And we don't want the body to ignore it. We want the body to pay attention to it, deal with it, and get it over with. Scanner can identify by just running along the skin where the cyst is. Can point the body's attention to it and help the body to break the cyst. Scanners are really good at a stud finder for the energy cyst. So that it works perfectly for that. Laser will recharge the biological battery, will make the cells function better, will give the body more energy in dealing with the cyst and support the healing all the way through. It will introduce the new coherent order to the body, so the body can remember what coherency feels like. Blanket will protect the body in the interim, will not let any silent killers EMFs to go into the cocoon, and will also support the restructuring by giving the body image and creating a feedback. That's another way of looking at it. It's the same basic information, just put in a point format. So scanner and cosmetic disrupt energy cysts, jumpstart healing, and leads the body, helps the body to go through entire cycle of the disease until it's over. That's the final goal, final objective of every scanner treatment, to get it over with. Help the body to go through the full program of the disease and finish the program until nothing left. Until it's over, until it's another 0 on a new quality level. In this situation, the body will be already stronger, more wise, mature. Well, next presentation we will talk about that. But the agenda is to finish the disease. Break the cyst. Gone. Over. Nada. Laser supplies additional energy, repolarizes cell membranes, promotes osmosis in the cell, and opens the dual way of letting nutrients in, getting the garbage out. Improves the cellular communication through introducing coherent vibrations and helping the body to be transparent for our fiber optics. The blanket accelerates the healing process, concentrates energy, accumulates the body's bioenergy, mirrors the body's image back to itself, and also help to protect the body from outside influences, disruptive outside influences. So that's kind of basic why these things work together. Well, on a cellular level, we already got that. We already pretty much went through what the system does on a cellular level. So it re-energizes cell membranes, it stimulates production of ATP, which is the energy source for the body, improves blood and lymphatic circulation, improved oxygenation, improves nerve cells potential. Even collagen production improves Actually, it's oh yeah. For the skin, for the beauty, that's why we do it. We have the protocol that we will be going through, the Cinderella protocol. Accelerates regeneration of epithelial cells as well as many other cells, and growth factor, and also promotes cell proliferation and regeneration. So these are cellular kind of effects of the fusion. Now, a few more examples. This is the spider bite. Brown recluse spider bite. Bad case. Well, you know, spider, that brown recluse spider is a deadly insect. So that's the poor guy. He was a chef in a restaurant. So that's unfortunate thing. So that's dynamics. Here we go. And I believe it was done in like about 3 or 4 days, so real fast. One more time. This, yeah, if you can see that. It's all necrotic tissues. Yeah, it's all necrotic tissue.
There isn't any medical.
There is nothing that you can do about it.
Nothing.
There are no drugs to contradict that venom. There is nothing.
So what was the first time you did this?
Right?
How was it treated?
Oh, that was mostly the laser, I believe. It was Pat Knox's case, right?
It was just, no, it wasn't that. It was just a Q1000 is how it was treated. So, actually, it wasn't. It was the same as the Q10, but an earlier version called the Pegasus. So this was another $1,300 device that actually treated it. So.
Okay, so one more time, just going through the dynamics and how hair started growing and the necrotic tissue is just turning into normal tissue, which normally would fall off probably. So, okay, this is the guys, the last case I want to show you. This is the case from the archives of the scanner archives, and this was from the very first generation scanners. 1-year-old boy who developed a bad osteomyelitis of the shoulder, and you will see in a little while that the shoulder completely resolved, like no shoulder anymore. Osteomyelitis, it's bad inflammation, mostly staphylococcus or streptococcus, which, like a flesh-eating disease, eats the bone. So there is no bone, but the interesting case in this, why we are showing this, if you can see, the normal shoulder bone has the head, like a round head. So over here we have the beginning. Yeah, right. So there is no head of the bone here already, but there's still something there. The child was 1 year old. There was no particular reason for it. I don't know why that condition has been developed. He was operated because the only way of dealing with osteomyelitis is to get the pieces of bones out and trying to prevent infection from spreading. It didn't help. The child had to go through surgery 4 times because they would remove piece. He would be discharged from the hospital. A few days later, he would go back because the inflammation continues. So 4 surgeries, one after another, and as soon as he was discharged the 4th time, developed inflammation again, and it's a 1-year-old child. Mom just could not take him back. So found a practitioner, one of the probably best scanner practitioners ever, Dr. Joseph, and he started treating with this very old scanner. Interesting in this case was as follows. So this is like completely, head of the bone completely gone. They started treating at that moment, that was X-ray that was done in the medical hospital by where he was under observation. At that time, obviously, as you can imagine, no head of the bone, no function. So the arm was like this, right? Now, child started doing certain motions with his arm, started grabbing toys with his arm, and on X-ray it was still this. So, like 8 months later, he would go for checkup. That would show an X-ray. Nothing, no structure to support the function, and yet he started using his arm. When the medical doctor, who didn't know what child was going through treatment-wise, asked mom what the child can do, and mom said, well, he pretty much can do everything. He just doesn't really, have a strength in his arm, but he pretty much, he takes the spoon, and the doctor said, well, he cannot do it. He doesn't have a bone to support that. Well, I'm sorry, but he does. Watch. And she said, well, open-minded doctor enough. She said, whatever you do, just keep doing. Watch what's happening. Function went ahead of the structure. The body grew structure following the function. And the reason why the body did it, because it was a 1-year-old boy. Very fast growth. So the body is growing fast. If the bone would regenerate to the original shape, it wouldn't match the growing body. So the body was growing the bone back, piece by piece. Watch that. There's a little nucleuses start to form over here. Like a little sections here and there, little sprouts. At that point, function is almost completely back, like he can do everything. Now we can see here, like this is little nucleuses. Oops, start forming. This is 2 years down the road, and here we go. Our fully formed head. See that? The body grew it back fully to what it's supposed to be, but a bigger size now, because the child is already older, so he's bigger. So that's the beginning and that's the end. See that? In comparison. And that's just old scanner. Could the body do it on its own? It needed to be reminded. And that's the boy. So that, it's happened in a small Russian town. So he has the jam. It's like the jam, jugs of jam. So that's the kind of what the fusion can do, guys. And that's the end of this presentation.